And it was funny because I had a DNC, which is dilation and curettage, for that miscarriage. So it was obviously dead. So they went in there and they said it could take like weeks for it to come out on its own. I said, no way. I want to be done. I want to get this chapter of my life over with. Like, because I was still sick because my body was still producing some hormones. You know, I don't know what the issue was. I was like, no, let's schedule this. So we scheduled a DNC, dilation and curettage, where they go in and they dilate your cervix and they scrape your uterus to extract the remains.
To get the baby out.
Yeah, just all of it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we had. And that was fine, but that's one thing. One thing I learned is I had to ask because, that's life. That's for us, me and Patrick, like that's our child. And so they were just going to schedule it. And then that was it. And I remember asking doctors, like they were just about ready to leave. I said, this is before I had the surgery. And I said, but wait, what's going to happen with the baby afterward? And they're like, there's two options. You can take it with you, which is a harder one, or you can get it back, the remains, or we just give it to OSF, and once a year or twice a year they have this mass grave for miscarriages, funeral for miscarriages, and they just bury them all together, And I was just like, no, like my kid has a family, we loved this baby, like it's not going to be buried in a mass grave, even though it's OSF, type of thing, like once a year. So I was like, no, we'll take it. And I said, how do we take it? And then she said, well, you have to call a funeral director because it's human remains. And I was like, that's fine. It almost made it seem like, okay, that's more difficult, maybe more paperwork for them. I don't know. I just didn't like their demeanor about it, I guess, is what I would say. It was just more like, okay,
Were you at like a Catholic doctor's office?
No, I don't go to this OB. There's nothing wrong with this OBGYN office I used to go to. It was just, I just don't, I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about them because it was just, we looked at our baby's life way different than like, it's just dead. You just got to scrape it and move on. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so that's one thing I learned. So I was all upset because I was like, I want those remains. I want them buried. We have a family cemetery or Catholic cemetery where our family's buried at. So after all that hysteria of a miscarriage, now I have to figure out like who I'm going to call because I want our baby. For me, it was important. I want those remains,
right?
To bury. And so luckily I called Duffy
Pills Memorial Home
in Fairbury. Sure. And I talked to this one lady. She wasn't Debbie Duffy or anything. She worked in the one in Chenoa, I believe. And she was so nice. And I said, I just want my baby. Please, can someone just go pick it up after we have this procedure? And they're like, oh, my gosh, absolutely, Anne. They were so kind. And they're like, absolutely, it is your child. We will go. No matter how small, we'll go and pick them up,
Wow, that's very nice. Shout out to Duffy Pills.
Yeah, I know. And so it gets better by Duffy Pills. So then Debbie Duffy called me later because it's human remains. You have to, get all this information from me and Patrick, like where we were for death certificate. And, she was so kind. And then Rob Duffy called me, said, you're doing the right thing. This is great. And event ended up, he asked Father, we buried him on top of
Father Archer at St. Andrews in Fairbury.
Yep, he asked Father, because I said, well, can we just bury him on top of my grandpa, John Reese? Because I'm not going to buy a plot just for a small little guy, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so he asked Father, he asked Grandma Reese, and they both okayed it. And so, weeks later, after I had my procedure, they got the remains. And and we were going to pay Rob Duffy. He said the urn, or the container they were used, it was going to be $100. And we went to pay him after Father said a little short memorial service for this little baby. and he gave it to us donation-wise. Like, he donated to us, no cost.
Oh.
And I was like, and I still look back, I'm like, why didn't I need to donate back to Duffy Pills Memorial Home? But I haven't. But I mean, that meant so much to me. You know what I mean? And for Father to go out there and say a prayer. And so I would say, after you have a miscarriage, it's not just, that's it. You know what I mean? For us, it was, we had to bury this baby. And
right. Well, because this was a child that had a soul.
Yeah, exactly. This child had soul.
As important as you and I.
Yeah, and exactly. So, yeah, I'm looking back, and I just think it was a lot of turmoil, but it all worked out. Like, people were I would say Fairbury people were so nice. You know, the people I knew from my hometown, just so nice. And a time of that just wrecked us, me and Patrick. They were just the kindness. Thank you. I need to donate money back to them so they can help people like us, you know, people in certain situations. So I need to do that.